begin with Israel-Gaza conflict. Amnesty International accuses Israel of Gaza genocide. Colombia's President Petro replaces scandal-hit finance minister. Mexico reports record fentanyl seizure under U.S. pressure. South Korea's defense minister quits amid martial crisis. And gunman at large after United Health CEO killed in attack. On Israel-Gaza war, in a damning latest report, human rights group Amnesty International has resolved that Israel's war on Gaza meets the legal threshold for genocide. The reports, published on Thursday, titled "You Feel Like You Are Subhuman: Israel's Genocide Against Palestinians in Gaza," is the conclusion of months of research by Amnesty, including extensive witness interviews, analysis of visual and digital evidence, including satellite imagery and statements made by senior Israeli government and military officials. The Israeli military has committed at least 3 of the 5 acts barred by the 1948 Genocide Convention, including indiscriminate killings of civilians, causing serious bodily or mental harm, and deliberately inflicting on Palestinians in Gaza conditions of life calculated to bring about their physical destruction, Amnesty said. Agnes Callamard, Secretary General of Amnesty International, said, "Month after month, Israel has treated Palestinians in Gaza as a subhuman group, unworthy of human rights and dignity, demonstrating its intent to physically destroy them. Our research reveals that for months, Israel has persisted in committing genocidal acts, fully aware of the irreparable harm it was inflicting in Palestinians in Gaza," Callamard said. It continued to do so in defiance of countless warnings about the catastrophic humanitarian situation and of legally binding decisions from the International Court of Justice, ICJ, ordering Israel to take immediate measures to enable the provision of humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza. She said, "Our damning findings must serve as a wake-up call to the international community. This is genocide. It must stop now," she added. Callamard said that taking into account the pre-existing context of dispossession, apartheid, and unlawful military occupation in which the Israeli military's crime against the civilian population of Gaza have been committed, we could find only one reasonable conclusion: Israel's intent is the physical destruction of Palestinians in Gaza. Amnesty said the Israeli military's argument that it is lawfully targeting Hamas and other fighters who are located among the civilian population of Gaza, and that it is not deliberately targeting the Palestinian people, does not stand up to scrutiny. A major member of President Gustavo Petro's government in Colombia has resigned amid the newest corruption scandal to rock the administration. On Wednesday, Ricardo Bonilla, the finance minister, resigned from his office, though he remained defiant in the face of accusations that he diverted funds from Colombia's disaster relief agency and bought votes on a congressional committee involved with government finances. He denied committing any crimes. "The defense I am undertaking with my legal team is supported by truth and transparency." Colombia's first left-wing President Petro has weathered a string of scandals and legislative setbacks since taking office in 2022, but he stood by Bonilla even as he accepted the minister's resignation. But Petro added politics and law continue to be based on corruption in Colombia. Bonilla was the second finance minister to exit Petro's government. He took over from Jose Antonio Ancapo in 2023 after Petro abruptly reshuffled his cabinet. Earlier this year, the scandal that brought Bonilla down emerged when the Public Prosecutor's Office opened an investigation into theft contracts from the National Unity for Disaster Risk Management, or UNGRD. Some purchases allegedly involved $10.5 million contracts for defective water tankers destined for the province of La Guajira, where residents battled to access potable water. The former head of UNGRD was accused of influence peddling in a scandal that raced to include Bonilla himself. Colombia's Supreme Court has since revealed its investigation hinges on alleged crimes of bribery and possible illicit enrichment. The ex-deputy director of UNGRD, Sidney Pinilla, who himself is under investigation, has since become a cooperating witness. His lawyers have said he provided evidence of a criminal structure connected or connecting to UNGRD to high-ranking federal officials, but Petro has largely rejected accusations of corruption within his government. Meanwhile, Mexico has announced its biggest ever seizure of the synthetic opioid fentanyl as cross-border pressure mounts for the country to crack down on drug trafficking into the United States. Omar Garcia Harfuch, in a statement on Wednesday that Mexico's Secretary of Security and Citizen Protection said the haul came after authorities took two separate auctions in the coastal state of Sinaloa. 2 men were also arrested and firearms were confiscated. These actions will continue until the violence in the state of Sinaloa decreases, he said. The Mexican government also announced separately it had detained over 5,200 migrants and asylum seekers a day earlier on Tuesday as they headed towards the U.S. border. Both actions are likely to be seen as efforts to pacify the incoming administration of President-elect Donald Trump in the United States. Trump has threatened to slap a heavy 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada unless both countries take actions to tamp down drug trafficking and immigration across their shared borders with the U.S. Palestinians forced to evacuate one of the last shelters in northern Gaza, describing harrowing journey. Security analyst David Susido revealed that he believes Mexico's efforts on Wednesday are the result of pressure from Washington. For her part on Wednesday, Sheinbaum, who was inaugurated as Mexico's president in October, framed the fentanyl seizure as an effort long in the making. Last week, Sheinbaum and Trump spoke about efforts to stop migration northwards as well, though the two leaders emerged with different accounts of the conversation. Sheinbaum, however, clarified she desired not to close borders but to build bridges. She did, however, again affirm that her government will prevent so-called migrant caravans, large groups of migrants who band together for safety, from reaching the border. Meanwhile, fentanyl is a major cause of overdose deaths in the U.S. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration describes the synthetic opioid as 100 times more potent than morphine. Yoon Suk-yeol, South Korea's president, has accepted the resignation of the country's defense minister Kim Yong-hyun and nominated the country's ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Choi Byung-hook, as the latest defense minister. According to reports, the president's office confirmed the nomination of Choi, an ex-army general, as the new defense minister on Thursday. Reports said that Kim had proposed to President Yoon that he declared martial law on Tuesday night, a step that was quickly cut short after South Korea's parliament voted for Yoon to reverse his decision. Yoon's nomination of a new defense minister in his first official act since revoking the declaration of martial law in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The reversal sent hundreds of South Korean troops who had briefly stormed into the National Assembly compound in Seoul back to their barracks. Amid public outrage at the effort to enforce martial law and condemnation of Yoon by opposition parties, South Korea's parliament introduced a motion early on Thursday to impeach the president. On Thursday, South Korean police also announced they were investigating Yoon for insurrection, a crime that transcends presidential immunity and can carry the death penalty after the opposition filed a complaint against him and other key figures involved. Woo Jung-soo, head of the National Investigation Headquarters of the National Police Agency, told lawmakers that the case has been assigned, reports said. The crunch in South Korea has stretched into as a mutual defense treaty between North Korea and Russia comes into force. According to reports on Thursday, the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty, which was signed in June between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, came into force on Wednesday. The agreement includes a mutual defense deal for quick military aid if either Russia or North Korea faces armed aggression. Now, on Wednesday morning, Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO, was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan in a brazen targeted attack as he walked toward the hotel hosting the company's annual investor conference, New York police said. According to police officials who spoke on condition of anonymity, the gunman is still on the loose, but the assailants may have dropped some key clues while fleeing. Shortly before 7 a.m., a gunman masked in the freezing temperatures was lying in wait before opening fire on Thompson outside the Hilton Midtown, according to New York PD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. The gunman approached Thompson from behind and shot him at least once in the back and once in the right calf, Tish said. Responding emergency workers took Thompson to Mount Sinai West in critical condition, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Reports said the wards deny defend and deposed were found on shell casings found at the scene, citing police sources. A motive for the shooting is uncertain and police haven't announced one, but a source with knowledge of the probe said United Healthcare's parent company, United Health Group, was aware of concerning threats against its high-level executives. The threat didn't mention Thompson's name, the source said. Thompson's widow, Paulette, said there had been some threats against her husband. The leadership team at United Health Group is backed by an in-house security team, including other New York friends. A source familiar with the company's security said Thompson's security detail was not with him when the early morning shooting took place. On more stories now, French MPs oust Prime Minister, sparking political turmoil in the country. Michel Barnier, French Prime Minister, has been forced to leave office just 3 months into his term after lawmakers on the left and the right united to support a no-confidence motion and throw the country into deeper political instability. A total of 331 out of 577 lawmakers voted against Barnier's fragile government, seizing their opportunity to oust the veteran politician and renowned negotiator after his effort to ram through part of his government's annual budget on Monday. He is the first French government to be defeated in no-confidence motion since 1962, and Barnier is now set to become France's shortest-serving prime minister in history. His cabinet is now anticipated to serve in a caretaker capacity until French President Emmanuel Macron names new leadership. Barnier is set to officially submit his resignation to Macron on Thursday morning, according to report. Choosing a successor will prove an elusive task, with the progressively vulnerable president forced to appease lawmakers on both extremes of French politics. Macron had appointed Barnier to lead a minority government after a snap poll called by the president in the summer split France's parliament into 3 fractions, each well short of a majority. The situation had quickly appeared weak, and it collapsed at the first major hurdle on Monday when Barnier was forced to use a constitutional mechanism that bypassed a vote in the legislature on his 2025 budget. That permitted rival lawmakers on the left, who had long vowed to bring him down, to call a confidence motion in response, and the far-right National Rally supported the motion to see it through on Wednesday. The far-right had also called a similar motion. Pleading his case during Wednesday's debate in the National Assembly, he told lawmakers he was not afraid, but cautioned that removing him will make everything more difficult. But he was forced to watch as lawmaker after lawmaker called for his ouster. Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far-right National Rally, said during the debate that Barnier's stubborn adherence to dogma and doctrine stopped him from making the slightest concession, which would have avoided this outcome. Barnier accused the far-right of political blackmail in the day before the vote, saying that they had agreed to his consensus on electricity tax hikes and medical aid for undocumented people before demanding more. The far-right leader has been the chief antagonist throughout the Macron era, challenging him in 2 presidential polls and now dispatching the prime minister he handpicked to settle a simmering crisis. She placed the blame for the fall of Barnier's government squarely on Macron's shoulders. Now in African scene, efforts to deliver crucial aid to Sudan's isolated areas. Over 700 trucks carrying food support are anticipated to reach communities in Sudan, where several people are battling with hunger. The war in Sudan has created massive hunger, including famine. It has pushed people off their farms. Food in the markets are scarce, prices have increased, and aid groups say they are grappling to reach the most vulnerable as warring parties limit access. In July, war experts confirmed famine in the Zamzam displacement camp. They caution that some 25 million people, over half of Sudan's population, are anticipated to face severe hunger this year. The organization said WFP is expecting to deliver more than 17,000 tons of food support to assist 1.5 million people for a month. The aid will help communities across Sudan, including 14 areas classified as hotspots because of the severity of food insecurity and famine risk. Closely 24,000 people have been killed and millions displaced during the war that broke out in April 2023, triggered by tensions between the military and a powerful paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces. Between May and September, there were 7 malnutrition-linked deaths among children in one hospital at a displaced site in Chad run by Doctors Without Borders, known by its French acronym MSF. Such deaths can be from disease and hunger-weakened bodies. Joe Biden, U.S. President, has called on both sides to let unhindered access and stop killing civilians. The fighting show no sign of slowing down. We take a breather now, and when we come back, I'll bring you stories from Nigeria. Please don't go anywhere. And now, stories from Nigeria. We begin with the contested tax reform. Senate holds debate. Panel meets AGF today. According to reports, the Senate has halted action on the tax reform bills. The Senate further instructed its Committee on Finance to stay action on the public hearing pending the time the agitation in the public space was addressed. It further constituted a special committee to meet with the executive arm and work with the federal government to resolve the issues surrounding the tax reform bills. This was made known by Jibrin Barrow, the Deputy Senate President, who proceeded during plenary on Wednesday. There has been hullabaloo over the tax reform bill since its introduction to the National Assembly. The bills are tax reform bills comprising the Joint Revenue Board of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2024, Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2024, Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2024, and Nigeria Tax Bill 2024. The Northern governors rejected the bills outright, describing them as anti-democracy. The National Economic Council, Nigeria's highest economic advisory body, following this, requested that the tax reform bills be withdrawn from the NAS for more consultations. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde announced the council's position after its 144th meeting chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the State House in Abuja. The president also on Tuesday instructed the judiciary to liaise with the legislative arm of government. The Deputy Senate President, while speaking on the controversies, noted that the delegation will meet on Thursday at the National Assembly to resolve all the issues that has caused the upheaval. And finally, on the news on judicial matters, lawyer Dele Farotimi charged with defamation in Ekiti. On Wednesday, Dele Farotimi, human rights lawyer and activist, was arraigned at an Ekiti State Magistrate Court over allegations of defamation. In Lagos on Tuesday, Farotimi was reportedly arrested by officers from the Ekiti State Police Command. His arrest has triggered public interest and debates about the circumstances leading to his detention. Around 10:25 a.m., he appeared in court where he faced a 16-count charge of defamation. The allegations involve statements made in his recently published book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. The charges against Farotimi were brought forward by Are Afe Babalola's son, the founder of Afe Babalola University. The lawyer is accused of making defamatory remarks that tarnish Babalola's reputation in his book. The controversial statements have attracted attention to the broader issues Farotimi tackled in his work, focusing on Nigeria's legal and criminal justice systems. Farotimi's apprehension has generated major public interest, with several questioning whether the case is a genuine legal matter or an effort to stifle his activism. Supporters have voiced concerns over the implications of using defamation charges to suppress free speech, especially in cases involving prominent human rights advocates. To refresh our memories, Amnesty International accuses Israel of Gaza genocide. Colombia's President Petro replaces Candleheath Finance Minister. Mexico reports record fentanyl seizure under U.S. pressure. South Korea's defense minister quits amid martial crisis, and gunman at large after United Health CEO killed in attack. And that's all on the news. Thanks for watching. Till next time, have a blessed day.